Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast, where it's all about getting real around all things coaching.
And what we know for sure is that what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one's really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
Hey, Karen.
Yes.
Are you ready to think through this new way of achieving success?
I'm here. So absolutely, I am more than ready to talk through whatever it is, the brilliant ideas that you have percolating, and I'm ready to jump in with you.
All right, good. So the key thing here, Karen, is what if you actually factored in looking for failure to be a part of achieving your success?
I love the idea. And what's going to be funny about that is that I think that a lot of people are going to be scared of that.
I know, which is great. So let's sort of shake things up a little bit. So in this month, what we're going to be talking about is your relationship with failure. And you get to choose how you view failure in your life. And Karen and I were talking about it earlier today, and it's about how do we find the way to encourage failure, bring the failure, let's do failure in order to achieve the next best version of who we're becoming.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, Jen, this just comes up all the time as far as what we normally hear, right? I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of failure. But the thing is, it makes sense that people don't want to do it because they're so afraid of it. But what if, Jen, what if that's the key? What if you weren't afraid of failure? And especially because it's the thing that can propel you.
So let's even break it down, right? So I think a lot of this, Karen, is that a lot of people haven't thought about what is their relationship with failure, right? So they try to avoid it. I don't want to fail. I don't want to be a failure, whatever the case is. But what if we started to look a little bit more about what is our relationship with failure? So here's some questions, right, to think through. What does failure mean to you? What are you really afraid of? What are you afraid that failure means in your life?
You know what? Are you asking me those questions?
No, just in general, those are good things, right? To sort of think about. We just sit there and go, I don't want to feel it. But what is it you don't want to feel?
And I think it's because nobody really broke it down.
Yeah.
Because they have such a broad, I don't know, general definition that, oh my gosh, failing is bad. So you don't want to do it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I haven't been a person who's gone through my life saying that's a failure, that's not a failure. There's been outcomes I've appreciated and outcomes that were like, kind of thing. However, it's interesting because there's a lot of things that didn't turn out the way I projected, the way I hoped, the way I worked towards. And I still wouldn't necessarily even call them failures. I would just say things that didn't work out the way I wanted.
Yeah, you know what? Now this has me spinning in a bunch of directions too, because that's just a mindset. So if you have a mindset that just says, okay, this shit just didn't work out, right? And okay, and you're going to learn from it, you're going to grow from it, you're going to move forward with it, then I mean, that's the kind of mindset I feel like I have, because I'm sitting here thinking, all right, so yeah, I've had failures, but I don't like things like, now that I'm saying that, like, were they failures, or like you just said, stuff didn't work out? And I don't know, maybe, and I'm going to throw this at you, is it because your ego won't even let you say that you failed? Or is it because, I don't know, it's because it just shit didn't work out?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's just, I think it's just shit didn't work out, right? So I just think that I got to tell you, I've had a lot of, I've been fired from jobs. I didn't do so great in college. There's like a whole bunch of different little steps along the way that has caused me to go to plan B in certain situations and such. And I still don't think of them as failures. I just think that they didn't work out. And I don't think that's an ego thing, like I can't admit it. I mean, because I experienced disappointment or frustration or, maybe sadness about it. But the reality is that I don't chalk that up to, I don't know. I guess I just don't label them as failures, right?
And you know what? And I think that that's it. It's just what's your definition of failure, and that's probably, and here's you should write this down now, and I'm going to tell you to write it down, and we're actually recording this, so we should probably remember. But we're talking a lot about failure now. Maybe we should talk about success next time, like for next month, because what this makes me think of so much is you get to define failure. And if you're saying you fail all the time, so what? Change your definition of failure. Like if you don't like it, like why not? And just because like it's okay, so you might fail at things, but it doesn't mean you're a failure. I failed a boatload of tests, right? So what? I failed the test. It doesn't make me a failure because I'm not personalizing the failure. It was just a thing that happened.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? So one is that, as we look and we say, oh, I'm afraid of failing. So therefore, most times people won't try, or they don't put in all their energy. They don't go after their goals, after their dreams, because they're worried they won't achieve them. But it's really about, what is your relationship with failure? What does it mean to you? How does it show up in your life? And what is it that you hang on to when your outcomes aren't what you thought they would be? And what that means about what else you can do in the future. I think it's very provocative to really start to say, okay, so what is my relationship with failure? And what do I want my relationship with failure to be? I think it's a great topic and things to think about. And in our next episode, we're going to talk about why people are afraid of failure.
So between now and then, we would love it if you would start to explore what your definition of failure is, and really really decide what is your definition, and then really, what do you want your definition of failure to be? So a little bit of homework there. And Jen, let's wrap this up.
All right. And don't worry, you can't get it wrong. See you next week.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast. Craving more in-depth discussions? Check out the Get Real Inner Circle with our no BS in-crowd of coaches.
Join live coaching discussions, breakdowns of coaching calls, and have some fun while you're at it.
You're going to want to go to kickstartyouredge.com/inner circle. It's time to get real.